The silent witness. The night Daniel Harper disappeared, the town of Blackwood was drowning in fog. Streetlights flickered, casting long shadows, and the ocean roared against the cliffs as if warning of the storm ahead. Inside his apartment, Daniel sat at his desk, flipping through his notes. His latest investigation had led him to a secret buried for 20 years, one that people would kill to keep hidden. A sound outside made him freeze. He glanced at the window. Nothing. Still, his instincts screamed danger. His hands trembled as he grabbed his phone and typed a message. "Evelyn, if anything happens to me, the answer is in the mirror." Before he could hit send, the door burst open. A pair of gloved hands grabbed him from behind. His phone clattered to the floor. The last thing Daniel saw was his own terrified reflection in the mirror before everything went black. Detective Evelyn Cross hated early morning calls. But when her phone rang at 5:42 a.m., and the voice on the other end said, "Daniel Harper is missing," she was fully awake in seconds. Evelyn had known Daniel for years. He was more than a journalist. He was a friend. Sometimes a pain in the ass, sometimes brilliant, but always chasing the truth. She dressed quickly and drove through the fog-covered streets to his apartment. Inside, the place was in chaos, papers scattered, his laptop gone, and a chair overturned. It wasn't a robbery, it was something worse. Then she saw it. A single note on his desk: "The mirror never lies." Her gut tightened. This wasn't just a disappearance, this was a message. And whoever left it wanted her to find it. Evelyn spent the morning questioning Daniel's neighbors, but no one had seen anything. His editor at the Blackwood Gazette admitted Daniel had been working on a huge story but didn't know what it was about. With no leads, Evelyn turned to her oldest contact, retired cop, Clara Whitmore, the last witness to a 20-year-old unsolved murder. She found Clara in her small house on the outskirts of town, sipping tea on her porch. The old woman had a sharp gaze, despite her frail hands. "You look like hell," Clara greeted her. "Good to see you too." Evelyn wasted no time. Daniel was working on a story about an old crime. A woman named Emily Rhodes, 2004. Clara's face darkened. "That case was buried for a reason," she said. Evelyn leaned in. "Then it's time to dig it up." The name, Emily Rhodes, sent a chill through Evelyn. She remembered the case from when she was a rookie. A young woman found dead near the cliffs. Cause of death: unknown. Witnesses: none. But Daniel must have found something new. And Evelyn knew where to start looking. The abandoned lighthouse. She arrived just as the sun set, the waves crashing below like whispers of ghosts. Inside, the air was damp, the walls peeling. Something felt off. Then she saw it. Footprints in the dust. Someone had been here recently. A floorboard creaked behind her. Evelyn spun, gun raised, and came face to face with a stranger. Tall, dark-haired, piercing blue eyes. A man she didn't recognize. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "Neither should you," she shot back. The man's gaze flickered with something unreadable before he turned to leave. Evelyn grabbed his arm. "Who the hell are you?" He smirked. "Let's just say, I'm looking for answers too." Then he pulled away and disappeared into the night. Evelyn stood frozen. Who was he? And why did she feel like he knew exactly what she was looking for? Evelyn spent the next day going through Daniel's notes, trying to make sense of it all. But her thoughts kept drifting to the man from the lighthouse. She had never believed in coincidences. So when she spotted him again that evening, sitting alone at a bar downtown, she didn't hesitate. She walked straight up to him. "You've been following me." He sipped his whiskey, unfazed. "Maybe. You gonna tell me who you are?" He studied her for a moment. Then, finally, "Liam Carter. I used to work for Daniel." Evelyn's breath caught. Daniel never mentioned Liam. Then why didn't you tell me that last night? She demanded. Because I don't know if I can trust you, Liam said simply. Evelyn felt an unexpected sting, but she kept her voice steady. Well, that makes two of us. For the first time, his smirk softened. Then maybe we should find out the truth, together. With Liam's help, Evelyn started putting the pieces together. Daniel had uncovered something big, a corruption ring, involving Blackwood's most powerful men. And at the center of it all, Mayor Robert Langley. Langley had been Emily Rhodes' employer before she died. Coincidence? Evelyn didn't think so. Then came the first warning. That night, she returned to her car to find a note on her windshield. Stop digging or you'll end up like him. Her blood ran cold. She wasn't scared easily, but this was personal. And if they thought a threat would stop her, they didn't know Evelyn Croft. Evelyn sat in her car, gripping the threatening note in her hand. The cold night air seeped through the cracked window, but it wasn't the chill that made her skin prickle. Someone was watching her. She looked around, empty street, parked cars, dim streetlights casting long shadows. But the feeling remained. She wasn't alone. Then, she saw it. A black SUV, parked at the far end of the block, engine idling, tinted windows. Watching. Waiting. Evelyn's instincts screamed, danger. Without hesitation, she grabbed her gun and stepped out of the car. The moment her boots hit the pavement, the SUV's headlights flared to life. Tires screeched. The vehicle sped toward her. She barely had time to move, diving between two parked cars just as the SUV roared past, missing her by inches. Then it was gone, swallowed by the fog. Evelyn's hands shook. This wasn't just a warning. It was an attempt to kill her, and that meant one thing. She was getting close to the truth. Evelyn didn't go home that night. She drove straight to Liam Carter's apartment. When he opened the door, shirtless, his hair a mess, her heart did something unexpected. A quick skip, before settling into its usual rhythm. You look like hell, he said, mirroring Clarice's words from earlier. Someone just tried to kill me. Liam's smirk vanished. Come in. Inside, Evelyn recounted everything. The SUV, the note, the lighthouse, Daniel's cryptic message. Liam poured 2 drinks, handing her one. So what's our next move? He asked. Evelyn hesitated. She had always worked alone. Always kept people at arm's length. But now, with the danger closing in, she needed someone in her corner. She exhaled. We go after Robert Langley. Liam grinned. Now you're talking. The plan was simple: confront Langley, push him for information, see if he cracked. The problem? Langley was untouchable. He had the police, the press, and half the town in his pocket. But Evelyn wasn't a rookie. She and Liam attended a high society gala that Langley was hosting. It was a perfect cover. She wore a sleek black dress, a gun strapped to her thigh. Liam cleaned up well in a dark suit. He leaned in as they entered the ballroom. I barely recognize you, Cross. Shut up and focus. But his smirk told her he enjoyed seeing her like this, out of her comfort zone. And the way his hand rested lightly on the small of her back, distracting as hell. Still, Evelyn had a job to do. They found Langley near the bar, surrounded by powerful men in expensive suits. Evelyn approached first, her smile smooth. Mayor Langley, she said. A pleasure. His eyes flickered with recognition. He knew who she was, and he wasn't happy to see her. Detective Cross, he said coolly, didn't expect to see you here. I have a few questions. About Emily Rhodes. Langley tensed. Just for a second, but it was enough. Evelyn pressed forward. Daniel Harper was looking into her death. Now he's missing. Do you know anything about that? Langley's smile never faded. but his voice dropped to something darker. Careful, detective. You're poking at things best left buried. I don't scare easy. Langley leaned in, whispering in her ear, then you won't like what happens next. A hand gripped her wrist. Liam. He pulled her back just as 2 security guards moved toward them. Time to go, Liam murmured. Evelyn allowed him to lead her away, but she knew one thing for certain. Langley was hiding something, and he had just made a mistake. Because now, she wasn't just investigating him, she was hunting him. After the gala, Evelyn and Liam found themselves alone in his car, parked outside the city limits. The adrenaline was still pumping. Liam turned to her. That was reckless. So was bringing me whiskey after I got shot at. He smirked. Fair. There was a charge in the air, something unspoken, something dangerous. He leaned closer. You ever let your guard down, Cross? Evelyn knew she should pull away, but she didn't. Maybe, she whispered. His lips brushed against hers. Just a taste. Just enough to make her heart hammer. Then, a loud bang shattered the moment. Gunfire. A bullet tore through the windshield. Liam grabbed Evelyn, shoving her down as another shot rang out. Go, she shouted. Liam slammed on the gas. The car screeched forward as more bullets ripped through the night. Someone wanted them dead, and now, it wasn't just about the case. It was about survival. Evelyn and Liam ditched the car, running through the darkened alleys of Blackwood. Breathless, Evelyn pressed against a brick wall, gripping her gun. They knew where we were. Liam nodded. Which means someone tipped them off. A mole. Evelyn's mind raced. Someone in town, maybe even someone in the police force, was working for Langley. Then she remembered something. The mirror, she whispered. Liam frowned. What? Daniel's note. The mirror never lies. What if he meant a literal mirror? Something he saw? Liam's eyes widened. You think he left evidence? There's only one way to find out. They had to go back, to the one place where everything began. The lighthouse. The lighthouse was pitch dark when they arrived. The storm clouds rolled in, lightning flashing against the waves. Inside, Evelyn's heart pounded. She swept her flashlight across the room, dust, broken furniture, an old mirror hanging on the wall. Liam moved beside her. Where would Daniel hide something? Then, she saw it. A small camera, tucked behind the mirror. Her hands shook as she pressed play. The footage showed Daniel inside the lighthouse, speaking in hushed tones. I found the proof. Langley ordered Emily's death. He paid off the police, and now, they're coming for me. Then, a shadow moved behind Daniel, a gunshot. The camera shook, and the screen went black. Evelyn's blood ran cold. Langley had killed Daniel. A slow clap echoed behind them. They spun. Robert Langley stood in the doorway, gun in hand. You two just don't know when to quit, he sneered. Evelyn gritted her teeth. Neither do you. Then, gunfire erupted. Liam tackled Evelyn as bullets rained down. She rolled, firing back. Langley's men swarmed in. But Evelyn had one last trick. She hit send on her phone, forwarding the footage to every news outlet in the state. Langley's face twisted in rage. You. Before he could finish, Liam shot him in the leg. Langley crumpled, screaming. Sirens wailed in the distance. It was over. Days later, Langley was arrested. His empire fell. Daniel's name was cleared. Evelyn stood on the cliffs, the lighthouse behind her. Liam joined her, hands in his pockets. So, he said, you ever think about taking a vacation? She smirked. Maybe. And this time, when he kissed her, she didn't pull away. The mirror never lies. And neither did her heart. The end.